1. The Apple Tree Mystery. Two friends, Anne and Mary, went for a walk. Suddenly, it started to rain heavily. The girls saw a seemingly abandoned house and decided to shelter there. When the rain stopped, the friends were dry but very hungry, so they set off in different directions to find some fruit. Anne found an apple tree. She was happy and immediately ate an apple. All of a sudden, she turned into a tree herself. Half an hour later, Mary arrived there in her search for fruit and her friend. She heard someone say, "Your friend turned into a tree. You must find her to bring her back. You only have one chance. If you get it wrong, your friend will remain a tree forever." Mary was terrified. How would she find out which tree was her friend? Well, there must be some trick. Will 10 seconds be enough time for you to find the solution to this dilemma? You needed to think outside of the box. Since it had just been raining, all the trees in the forest had to be wet. The only tree that wasn't wet was Anne. Unfortunately, we'll never know if Mary was smart enough to realize that. 2. The Mystery of the Bearded Man. There is a man who shaves a minimum of 10 times a day. Still, he has a long beard. Who is this man? Can you figure out the answer to this phenomenon? The man indeed shaves, but he shaves other people. He's a barber. 3. The Shower Mystery. Jane gets in the shower, but surprisingly, her hair isn't wet after she gets out. How is this possible? While some solutions may look obvious to you, this situation isn't so clear. Use your 10 seconds to mull it over. Jane's hair is dry because she didn't turn on the water. 4. The Apple Mystery. There are 10 people in a room. They are standing in a circle so that each person can see the entire room and everyone else. You must place an apple in such a way that all the people but one can see it. Where do you place the apple? Isn't this a tough question? Could there be any nooks or secret spots in the room? 10 seconds to figure it out. In fact, you don't need any special hiding spots to fulfill the conditions of the riddle. Just place the apple on someone's head. 5. The Inheritance Mystery. An old man decided to leave all the money he'd been saving his whole life to one of his 3 sons, but he couldn't decide which son deserved the money. So he provided each of them with 1 coin and asked them to buy something that would fill their biggest room. The oldest son bought some cotton wool, but it was too little to fill the whole room. The middle son brought home straw, but there was still some empty space in the room. As for the youngest son, he bought 2 things that immediately filled the room, earning him his father's money. What did he bring home? You have just 10 seconds to understand what these 2 objects were. However, if you need more time, pause the video. The youngest son turned out to be the wisest. The money his father had given him was more than enough to buy a box of matches and a candle. After he lit the candle, the room was instantly filled with light. 6. The King's Task. Once upon a time, there was a king. He didn't have a wife or any children. He was old and worried about his throne and the future of the kingdom. That's why he decided to do the following. He gave each child in the country a seed and promised to make the child who grew the most beautiful plant his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall and green plants in their hand, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? Was the king too old to remember his promise? Why would he hand his kingdom over to the girl who had grown nothing? The truth is that the king had given the children fake seeds. The girl turned out to be the only honest child. 7. The Ladder Mystery. Paul was standing on a 100-foot-high ladder. He was planning to paint one of the walls of his house yellow. Unfortunately, it had rained several hours earlier, which is why he slipped from the ladder and fell to the ground. This may seem surprising, but he didn't die or suffer an injury. How did he manage to survive? The ladder was too high for an ordinary person to fall off without getting hurt. Could Paul levitate? What are your thoughts? The reason for this miraculous survival was the fact that Paul was standing on the bottom rung of the ladder. 8. The Trapped Man Mystery. An unlucky man gets trapped in a room. There are only 2 doors through which he can escape. However, behind the first door is a room made from magnifying glass. As soon as the man sets foot in there, the boiling hot sun will instantly fry him. As for the second door, it hides a furious, fire-breathing dragon. How can the man escape? Will you be able to help free the man from the trap? Remember that you have just 10 seconds to do this. It's actually pretty simple to escape from the room. The man has to wait until sunset and leave through the first door.